Hello and welcome back to No BS. Today we return to talking about one of our favorite actors and one who's been increasingly red-pilled and based recently. I'm of course talking about Matthew McConaughey. His famous line, "All right, all right, all right," goes really well with his personality and his very chill, very down-to-earth sensibility, and also his willingness and ability to read the room and see how people actually feel out there, especially in America. And what's come up again is Matthew McConaughey has essentially been defending a lot of conservatives. It seems like he's defending Trump's base even, which is taking it to the next step from what we talked about before. We previously talked about McConaughey in another video when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He kind of had some things to say about politics and about his co-workers in Hollywood, saying that them getting overly political is a bit too much. It's a bit short-sighted and preachy. And he stands by the idea that these actors are there to entertain. They're not there to preach. They're not there to push their politics on the people. They should be really focusing on acting, making good work, entertaining people, making TVs and movies that people like and enjoy. Sure, sometimes that can involve politics and have political leanings or stories or interests, but what's really going on is a lot of these actors are getting famous for other things, like they're in a Hollywood blockbuster Marvel movie and then they go on Twitter and tell everyone that Trump is a racist. It's not the same ballpark at all, and Matthew McConaughey recognizes this, and he's gone off and talked about it again on another podcast. This time he appeared on Russell Brand's podcast, and he had some other more interesting things to say that we're going to go over real soon. We're going to talk about how McConaughey is defending Trump's base and railing against the liberal left while he does it. It's very cool, very well said, and we're going to go over it all real soon. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. I mean, the police are the people that protect us from criminals and save our lives. They're the real heroes in our country, and since they're under attack each and every day by the left, the people trying to defund them, I say we actually do the opposite and support the police, and the best way to do it is to get your hands on this free coin. This 2020 police coin giveaway can be yours today if you click the link below this video. All you have to do is cover shipping costs, and you could get this free coin delivered really quickly. And I have to say, I have the coin myself. It's really strong, really cool, really great thing to have as a collector's item. You're gonna love it. If you love the cops, if you love America, and if you want to support this channel, check out that link below and get yourself a free coin. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's talk more about Matthew McConaughey. Matthew says right here, it says, with everything that's going on in politics right now, actor Matthew McConaughey has decided to lend his influential voice to the cause of saying that the left has to be nicer to Trump voters. On a recent episode of Russell Brand's podcast, the beach bum actor spoke about the current political divide, saying, "Let's get aggressively centric, I dare you," which sure sounded way cooler in his head. Also, the word you're looking for is centrist, but you big one percenter. So this article is really going against Matthew McConaughey. They don't like that he's supporting the other side of the aisle. Vulture is a very biased rag website who supports dumb liberal stuff. So they're trying to go after Matthew McConaughey, trying to frame him up as being dumb or bad or not knowing what he's talking about, when really, dude, this is a smart actor. This is a very thoughtful guy. He has a family. He's had many awards. He's won and done lots of cool movies on all kinds of genres. He's done romantic comedies. He's done actions. He's done dramas. He's acted in a full range of everything cool comedies. I love the guy. And the fact that Vulture thinks they know better, Vulture is a rag website who just goes along with this stuff because they're blindly liberal. They don't know any better. So when people don't know, they tend to just default to the left these days. And it makes sense. I mean, sometimes people might default to the right in certain areas when they're dominated by a conservative area in their city or state, usually in the rural areas, to be honest. But the point is, a lot of people in the media and the big people online or people that are keeping in touch and watching the news and reading stuff on Twitter, they default to the left. And that's how I feel about Vulture. I don't think they really have big thinkers there that are actually espousing great liberal thoughts. They're not coming up with it on their own. They're just trying to piggyback on what's going on. McConaughey then compares what he calls the liberal left, who were sad and infuriated that Trump won in 2016, and the GOP, which institutionally refuses to concede. Many people in our industry, when Trump was voted in 4 years ago, they were in denial that it was real. Some of them were in absolute denial. Even now, if we can stabilize, looks like Biden's our guy. Now you've got the right, that's in denial. As he says this, McConaughey looks like he thinks he's the folkiest, wisest philosopher king in the land and not your out-of-touch uncle. McConaughey goes on to rail against elites on the coast, call it a moondog whistle, before immediately pivoting to the thing he thinks the silent majority really cares about, whether or not Austin, Texas can become a global hub for businesses in the coming decade. keep lending your voice to what the people believe in. McConaughey, like checks notes, the smooth all-wheel drive and built-in navigation of Lincoln cars. That's an advertisement he makes. This thing's trying to be a little cheeky, and they're trying to act like McConaughey is just an out-of-touch uncle. Maybe he is out of touch a little bit. I'm sure he hasn't been to the real world in a while. He's super rich and successful and treated like the royalty in Hollywood. But I also don't think the Vulture people are getting this right either. They're clearly biased against him, and they're really, really mad at McConaughey for stepping out of line. This is that groupthink stuff that we're used to with the left. This is that kind of idea that if you step out of line and you're in Hollywood, you're going to be blacklisted, you're going to be blackballed, you're going to be derided and even fired or even taken stuff away from you. They might take away his wards or something like that. I'm not really sure how far this will go, but there's clearly a divide here, and there's clearly a fear among the left when they hear someone like this speak out. They know how powerful it can be, especially from a well-liked actor like Matthew McConaughey. He's well-liked in all circles, and he's just a charming, kind of likable guy. So to hear him say this is interesting.
Hey, I got a bit of a political question. How do you feel coming from where you're coming from? It's something that I consider a lot, because I don't know how it is in your country so much, although I have lived there for a while. Once you're a famous person, people think that's all you are and that's all you've ever known. You know, this is, I guess, why a lot of people will enjoy reading this book, seeing where you're coming from. The sheer amount of times you find yourself naked and in fist fights and brawling and stuff. Like, sometimes I feel that people don't reckon that people...
So this is the Russell Brand podcast. He's a big liberal, by the way, so I'm surprised this came up on this kind of platform, but he's also a nice guy. Like Russell Brand, he might have some stances. He seems like a bit of a hippie too, like whichever, but he is a nice guy. He's insightful. He thinks about things. He breaks down issues. He has lots of cool guests on his show too. Like, he got some good stuff going on. He's very funny as well.
On either side of the political aisle are so far apart, their fucking tires aren't even on the pavement anymore. I mean, so trust me, it's free over here. There's plenty of room, you know? And I almost feel like it's a move to say, no, let's get aggressively centric. I dare you. It's not a recession. It's an aggressive move. And if it's framed like that, one, I think that can relate to a lot of people on the right of going, "Oh, you daring me?" You know, it's like this COVID thing. It's like, I had to go, "Whoa, this enemy doesn't want hand-to-hand combat. Don't run out. Don't run out on the street with your gun and knives to try and fight this one." That's what he wants.
Okay, so here's another thing with the aggressively centric line. Vulture kind of misrepresented it the way I hear it here. I think Matthew McConaughey is kind of having a more like, let's get united in the middle kind of idea. Like, it sounds a little lame. If you've heard a lot of people make fun of centrists before, that's kind of like a meme online on YouTube especially. Like, centrists tend to be fence sitters that are actually liberals, even far left sometimes, and they just pretend to be in the center because they act like they're not political. But then when you hear them actually say something, you break things down. They hate Trump. They actually vote for the Democrats. This is a typical line. A lot of skeptics have taken this line. This is what Philip DeFranco has said for a long time. He pretends to be a centrist, but every passing day you realize he's more and more left wing and more biased. But what McConaughey is actually proposing, from the way I see it, is he wants real centrism. He wants real people to come down the middle of the aisle, take ideas from both sides. And sure, you could see this as being a little waxing, a little poetic, a little bit of a high dream, like you wish you could get that. It might never happen, but let the guy dream. He's an idea man. He's a creative. These guys are both artists and entertainers. And I respect that idea, and the idea of bringing people together isn't bad, especially when done from an honest and caring perspective, which I think is something we could definitely strive for.
You know what I mean? It's actually an aggressive move to actually stay home. You know what I mean? But it had to be reframed in a little bit. Look, on the other side, on the far left, that would go, well, who do? There is a lot on that illiberal left that absolutely condescend, patronize, and are arrogant towards that other. Many people were I'm sure you saw it in our industry when Trump was voted in 4 years. They were in denial that it was real.
Russell Brand just keeps nodding along. He's a nice guy, like I said. I'm not sure how much he really agrees with this, but the way I see it is, it's very different seeing McConaughey say the actual lines. Vulture frames it up in a worse way because they just don't like the guy. Like they know that he's not coming down right on their side with every single thing. Liberals are very strict and you have to agree with them on all fronts. And anyone stepping out of line gets that kind of like slap on the wrist, that kind of kick out of the cool kids club. And the way McConaughey frames things, I think it's more just like, yeah, 4 years ago, obviously the liberals were in denial. Obviously things are happening in a different way now. And it's okay. It's okay for people to think that way. It's okay for McConaughey to go on these podcasts and speak his mind. I'm really excited that he did decide to take some more interesting stances. It's very cool to see a celebrity actually come down on a different side. It's not like a politics thing. Like I know it sounds hypocritical, like, oh, well, you always hate the liberals that come on their sides, but they don't have the real ideas behind them. They don't support it with facts and evidence and actual arguments. They just come out lefty to get like attention and to virtue signal. But Matthew McConaughey's risking it all to say this, and I think that's something to say. So with that said, that about wraps things up. Comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you next time.